Hey, what's up, everybody? Tim Galbraith for now. Hashtag Lapeer. Brand name almost certainly coming. But obviously, we are looking at summer somewhat in the rearview mirror. Yes, technically, there's almost a whole month left, but I think in Lapeer, we know that once Lapeer Days comes and goes, and we see our kids going back to school, and Stephen Brady has to get off the lawnmower and and head to class and do some work. Um, that fall has arrived. So, uh, or at least it's about to. And it's a good time to reflect. 2026 has been a wild year for local politics, for me personally. And I will tell you what, when I made the decision about a month ago to enter a float into the Lapeer Days parade, I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. I don't necessarily think I am surprised by anything that I can talk about publicly. Now, there is some scuttlebutt behind the scenes that I'm aware of, but I can't verify and therefore won't address directly here. I will say that I ran to become a Republican party delegate in Lapeer County. And while I believe I still retain those delegate voting abilities, last Thursday night, the Republican Party decided they didn't want me. And good for them. I'm not exactly sure how it works. Part of the reason I wanted to get involved in this process was, in fact, to learn about this kind of thing. And not only to learn myself, but to share with the community how a relatively small group of people can have an inordinate amount of influence where they live. Now, in my mind, that is what has happened. That we have a small group of people who have been very active in local politics for quite some time. They've been effective, and they are why Jeremy Hing is our mayor. They are why Melissa Petrie, Linda Glissman, Lenny McCarthy, and even Stephen Brady are among our commissioners. And that county, I'll tell you, that county commission and many of the people in that building who are elected are direct descendants of our local Republican Party. Now, I've never, ever intended to go at the Republican Party specifically, nor the Democrat Party, at least not over any particular issue per se. I'm an independent. Nevertheless, I saw an opportunity to try to do something that, sure, involved a little bit of trolling on my part, but I do care about Lapeer. And I would have gone to those meetings and done my best to make votes. I got to vote a few times. The one meeting I was able to attend, I was the only person to cast no votes. Now, I have friends in this meeting, and they all cast yes votes. The only no votes I saw were I voted against Jacob Leroy becoming the Republican Party chair. And that's just because I think that party locally looks like it's in shambles, and hey, he's been right there at the front of it, so it seems to me like that's just accountability. I also voted against Tom and Carrie Coleman. I believe they were becoming delegates for their own community. Now, I may not have heard that right. I admit that I largely just voted on the basis of them being, if you join them together, Mayor Hing's top donor to his campaign. I'm not going to run from that. Now, this gives them a chance to come on here if they so wish and make comments, and it opens the door to whatever criticism they wish to levy my way. But I'll tell you what, at least you can see me coming. I don't know much about them. I just think that it's good to shake things up, particularly when things aren't going well. To make a sports analogy, you don't normally fire your head coach when you're winning. You don't normally fire the position coaches when you're doing great. You do that when things are in disarray. And while there is a small group of people a vocal group of people locally who will tell you that our mayor is doing a great job, that the Republican Party is doing great things. I disagree. Now, you hear people say, well, hey, he got elected, so sit there, shut up, and take it for the next 3 years. No, that's not how our political system works. I have every right, as does any other voting member of our community, to try for a recall. Maybe it fails, maybe it succeeds. But for those of you who think that somehow that this is just tearing us apart, you've got it backwards. If I am capable, through all my manufactured chaos, all my words, capable of persuading a city of 10,000 people, a county of 80,000 plus, that a elected official such as our mayor is doing a poor job when in fact they're doing a great job, then either I am magnificent at manipulation and propaganda or surrounded by boobs. I'd like to think that my neighbors, that the people I see in my hometown, that so many I've come to love, are not boobs, that they're actually intelligent people. I think a lot of us have just been underinformed through um, our own shortcomings and inadequacies in recent years. But I'm trying to change that. I am doing my best to, yeah, entertain a little bit, but definitely inform. So say what you want to about me, but I have certainly helped to bring attention to a government that frankly needs to be under a microscope right now. So shout out Brain Media, shout out Pissan, shout out Parent Data Force, shout out Granny Punkbuster, shout out those of you who are not so concerned about what other people think, that you were reluctant to get involved with this float or with this recall effort, even though you think it's the right thing to do. Now, there are many, many city workers. I know because they talk to me and they tell me, man, this needs to happen, right? But they can't go on camera like I can and say what I do. There are many business owners who also are of the opinion that this recall needs to happen. But again, they're fearful of coming out so aggressively and saying so. Now, it's not that I don't have anything to lose. In fact, I may have more to lose than most. What little I have fought quite hard to get in recent years. I don't want to make this all about me, so I'm not going to here and now. But I will say I have a lot of skin in this game. It's not easy. I'm not looking for a pity party by any stretch of the imagination, but I do say I wouldn't want to be the mayor, that this has got to be difficult, that it is hard to see division in the city. But I'll tell you something else. It is also a beautiful thing to see so many people who would have otherwise never spoken to each other united on and by anything. It's wild to see people across party lines connecting right now, because you don't see that in this day and age very often. But let's get into this article from Jeff Hogan. This is from View Newspaper Group, or as we know it, the County Press. It was published in the August 26th edition. An unusual spectacle occurred during the Lapeer Days parade on Saturday, the community's hometown summer festival. Riding in a Jeep near the start of the parade were Lapeer Mayor Jeremy Hing and his wife Teresa, while later in the parade was a Recall Hing float. Riding on the float was Timothy Galbraith, one of the Recall Drive organizers. He wore a king's cape and crown while holding a large gavel. In Michigan, a person cannot be recalled until they have served 1 year in office. Hing was elected on November 4th, 2025 for a term through November 2029. Now, as far as the recall effort goes, there have been stops and starts. It's a little bit tricky. I've had a lot of people offer to help, and I am going to have some more discussions with people in the next few days and see if maybe I can take somebody up on such an offer. There is some assistance that I could use, but I have done a lot of work on this, and I think we're close to being where we need to be. There is time. I have little question that we'll get there. Let's read a little bit more. A recall drive is planned to obtain 800 plus signatures of Lapeer voters to force a recall election. I don't have any doubt that we can get those 800 signatures. Hing's opponents assert the mayor has overstepped his duties to amass more power than previously seen by a Lapeer mayor, and they're opposed to how he conducts city commission meetings. That second part of it is what resonates with me in particular. I don't like how he treats people. Simple as that. I don't like how he spoke to City Manager Mike Womack. I don't like how he has spoken to Commissioners Atwood and Commissioner Brady. I think he definitely treats the other commissioners differently. I think he's out of line a lot. It's important to know that when it comes to recall language, it need only be clear and factual. I don't need to point to a law that he broke, right? It can't be as subjective as I don't like how he treats Commissioner Brady, but it can be something along the lines of the mayor interrupted Kelly Nolan during her public comment on such and such a day, and therefore I seek to recall him. It can be pretty simple. We'll see how it plays out. The article goes on to read, organizers must collect valid signatures totaling at least 25,000 of the total votes cast for the office of governor in the mayor's district during the last gubernatorial election. Under the Michigan election law, petitions seeking the recall of an elected official are required to state clearly each reason for the recall, and the act requires that the reason be based on the official's conduct during his or her term in office. To date, no petition language has been submitted nor approved by the Lapeer County Clerk's office. Hing says he has done nothing wrong in his administration of mayoral responsibilities, arguing that he ran on a platform of accountability and transparency to button up how city government operates, and says that's exactly what he's done since taking office 10 months ago. In November 2025, Hing won the mayoral race with 498 votes, defeating challengers Mindy Schwab and Brian Cloutier. The mayor's seat was open because Mayor Debbie Marquardt opted not to seek re-election. Lynn McCarthy ran unopposed in 2025 for a city commission seat vacated by Marlena Swindell, who chose not to seek re-election. McCarthy earned 920 votes. Of the city's population of 9,146 citizens, there were 6,795 registered voters eligible to cast a ballot in the election. In total, just 1,200 were cast, or 18%, a little bit more. Now, I voted, but I have been guilty most of my life of not voting. And, people told me many times, good men and women died for your right to vote. And they did. And I wish I had taken it more seriously sooner. But all I can do is move forward. And the city of Lapeer it has my undivided attention at this point, and it has many people's attention at this point. I want to say that I expect all kinds of criticism to be directed at me. I know I'm less popular all the time locally, that we have this group of diehard Mayor Hing supporters who will not allow me to dominate the narrative of the work that he is doing. Fortunately, I'm not even trying to. We have pissant press. We have anti-pissant press. We have, is this hypocrisy? We have all kinds of people like Jeff Hogan weighing in on the issue. But I've never seen a small town like this be so, what is the word? So wrapped up in local government, and it isn't so much an issue. It's a cult of personality, right? Yeah, people don't like the lack of transparency that we've seen so far out of this mayor. They seem to feel like there is a lot of hypocrisy here, not accountability, but hypocrisy. Many people feel like the Mike Womack situation was a witch hunt. There's no doubt about the fact that the mayor, as far back as March of 2025, sought to be a problem for this city manager. The emails are there. In campaign speak, he acknowledged that Womack was on shaky ground, I believe how he put it, in his eyes. And, you know, here we are, tens of thousands of dollars later. And guess what? Mike Womack is going to get a sweet deal, just like Dale Curbison before him. He's going to get paid. And it has been a fiasco. You know, I still don't think the public will ever really know how we got here. It was brought up recently. The mayor in the last meeting talked about the adversarial press. I think he says that like he is accurately marginalizing people like me. And frankly, like, bro, absolutely. The adversarial press, yeah, I guess that's what we are. We are adversarial to those who would come take the gavel or take the position of a mayor and then debatably abuse their authority to speak to people as if they are lesser than, to make decisions for a group of people that should be involved in the democratic process and using their own voices to contribute to the decisions being made. And that's not what we've typically seen happen from this mayor. It just hasn't been good work. That is my opinion. The uproar about this float is ridiculous. And I have heard rumor of certain local elected officials who referred to this as the last straw. So offensive is this recall Hinkside and these antics. You see me there in a cape with a gavel and a crown. What would you have a guy do? Now, I'm not running for mayor. I am campaigning essentially so that we will get the current mayor up out of there and get somebody different in. I have never been one to talk about issues I don't even want to mention here and now. Issues that I think are personal, that don't need to be addressed. Issues about past employment, things done as an adolescent. You know, his height, like, I don't do that. The King Hink thing was not something I started, but that is based on his behavior. So when I do that, it is because, like many people in Lapeer, I have perceived him as carrying himself like a king. So, again, satirically, I lean into that to make a point. For those who want to clutch their pearls and wonder how could this ever be allowed in our Lapeer days, I'll let you know. There was a lot of laughter. The weather sucked. It was not a great turnout. I was part of a parade a few years back with a far better turnout on a much nicer day. Um, but hey, the mayor got to sit there and hang out of his Jeep and wave and do his thing, and I got to do mine. And ultimately, no, we're not going to wait 3 more years to see who is going to be the next mayor. I mean, Hing is a near guaranteed one-term mayor if he makes it that far. But all the faux outrage about things like this, it's insanity. The narrative that Hing is just trying to run good, orderly meetings, but we have 2 commissioners who keep breaking the rules. It's ridiculous. And you know who I'm talking to. That is a terrible take, an absolute terrible take. So let's just be clear about something. More and more people are weighing in, and I know that you're lending your voice, some of y'all, to support Jeremy Hing and the job that he's doing, and that's great. You have that right. You probably should have been doing this the whole time, but you let him wither on that vine alone, by and large, and now here we are. He's essentially a feckless, just absolutely trapped elected official who really has very little hope of ever accomplishing anything that this city can be proud of, because things are so divided, and they are so divided because of the group of enablers around him. So yeah, sure, pay lip service to the great job that he's doing, but like Commissioner Hagedorn said in the most recent county commission meeting, where have y'all been in order to help steer him in the right direction? Those of you who have been involved in local government for some time, who have some experience, who maybe have his ear, who have earned his respect, where have you been? Why haven't you guided him in a direction that would benefit all of us? Is it because he just simply won't listen to anybody? I offer that's a possibility. Or is it that maybe you just don't know what you're talking about? Because if you look at those city commission meetings and you see a guy restoring order that had been absent, there are no words. There are no words. That is a difficult point to articulate on behalf of the other side. It makes very little sense. So yeah, be mindful out there, those of you who are concerned you may be getting brainwashed, whether by the adversarial media or just a no good like me that you bump into on the street. But just pay attention. Pay attention. Watch the meetings. Make your own decision. And when you see something like a recall float of this nature, don't be afraid to have a chuckle. You know, life does go on, floats roll on by just like the years, and he either survives the recall attempt or he doesn't. You know, it's politics. So we will see what happens. Thanks for watching. I have a DDA take coming out soon, and I'll hope that I'll see you on that one.